This is Amhara Media Corporation English Service and you're watching our daily updates. I am Gaila Damu. Stay with us. U.S. Secretary of State Antony Blinken said the cessation of hostilities agreement on the conflict in the northern Ethiopia is one of the most powerful testaments to the importance of African leadership. Following the conclusion of his official visit to Ethiopia, Blinken said that an African-led solution is recently bearing fruit. Brown Workana reports.
The cessation of hostilities agreement is a major achievement and step forward, saving lives, changing lives. The guns are silent. As the fighting has stopped, human rights violations have declined. Humanitarian assistance is flowing and finally reaching nearly all communities in need.
Following the conclusion of his official visit to Ethiopia, Blinken said that an Africa-led solution is recently bearing fruit.
African-led solutions are increasingly making the difference on the challenges of the 21st century. One of the most powerful testaments to the importance of African leadership has been the November 2nd cessation of hostilities agreement and the conflict and suffering in northern Ethiopia.
Blinken noted the peace agreement is vital to save lives and promote peace in Ethiopia. According to him, the cessation of hostilities agreement is a major achievement and a step forward in saving and changing lives. The guns are silent as the fighting stopped. Humanitarian assistance flowed and reached all communities in need. Services are restored in the Tigray region. The State Secretary also appreciated the dedicated diplomacy of the mediators from the African Union, Kenya and South Africa. He added the African Union's moderating mechanism is a successful implementation.
Prime Minister Abiy and the Ethiopian federal government and Tigrayan regional leaders should be commended for reaching this agreement and for the significant progress in delivering on their commitments. These efforts have created the foundation to rebuild the communities that have suffered so in Tigray, Amhara, and the Afar regions. They need the help and support. Today, I first met with Prime Minister Abiy and then with signatories to the agreement, the heads of delegation of the government of Ethiopia and the TPLF, to underscore our support for peace as well as the dividends it can yield. And those dividends are important. People need to see that peace brings concrete dividends in their lives.
During his one-day visit to Ethiopia, the State Secretary met with Prime Minister Abiy Ahmed and discussed domestic, regional and bilateral issues of mutual concern with a commitment for enhancing the partnership between Ethiopia and the United States of America. Blinken has also announced $331 million in new humanitarian assistance for Ethiopia in fiscal year 2023, according to the United States Department of State.
Meanwhile, the U.S. Secretary of State Antony Blinken has commended the implementation of peace agreement that was signed between the federal government and TPLF to end a 2-year-long war. Modomulye tells us more.
In his briefing to the local and international media, spokesperson of Foreign Affairs Ministry, Ambassador Meles Alem, said that the Deputy Prime Minister and Foreign Minister Demek Mekonnen had fruitful discussion with Antony Blinken. The spokesperson indicated the two sides held in-depth discussions on bilateral, regional and mutual interests as Ethiopia and the United States of America have a long-aged, multifaceted ties. During the discussion, the U.S. Secretary of State Antony Blinken realized that the implementation of the cessation of hostilities by the Ethiopian government is commendable. He further appreciated the delivery of humanitarian assistance following the peace agreement signed in Pretoria between the federal government and TPLF in early November 2022.
His Excellency Antony Blinken said he commended the implementations of the Pretoria Agreement signed for peace and stability in Ethiopia. He commended again the humanitarian support, provisions of social services, issues of accountability, among others.
Blinken also expressed the readiness of the US government to provide the necessary support for the effective implementation of the peace agreement. Speaking on the diplomatic relationships between Ethiopia and the US, the Secretary of State expressed the commitment of President Joe Biden to consolidate bilateral relations of the two countries, according to the spokesperson.
On bilateral issues, he expressed the commitment of his government to deepen the traditional ties between Ethiopia and Kenya politically, economically, and socially. The two foreign ministers also discussed about regional issues, among others, the peace and stability in Somalia, the humanitarian situations in Somaliland. His Excellency Blinken appreciated Ethiopia's generosity to welcome hundreds of thousands of Somalis to Ethiopia.
On his part, Deputy Prime Minister and Foreign Minister AMECO explained to the Secretary about the government of Ethiopia's efforts to maintain the African Union-led trilateral talks between Ethiopia, Egypt and Sudan on the Grand Ethiopian Renaissance Dam. He also briefed the Secretary about the endeavors being underway to fight against terrorism in Somalia, put relations with Sudan on a positive trajectory, and provide support for peace in South Sudan. Mellis also said the two sides remarked on the positive development of the cessation of hostilities and the African Union-led disarmament, demobilization and rehabilitation process and the work of the Ethiopian Rehabilitation Commission. In connection with that, the spokesperson said the two parties discussed the formation of the interim regional administration in the Tigray region and the ongoing nationwide consultations on transitional justice policy that will bring about accountability and redress for victims.
In North Wallo, what is called Warke, there are two Kabbalites in that area. The regional government led by His Excellency Dr. Yilikan, we officially launched the rehabilitation program there. We selected that area because 234 houses were totally destroyed.
In a census study conducted by universities in Amhara region, women and children were adversely affected by the war. What empirical evidence do you have to support this claim?
You cannot empirically list down those psychological and humanitarian aspects.
What have you accomplished in this regard so far?
They have been working on research to publish this book.
But first, you are telling me that you have this 5 years strategy.
Yeah.
5 years is a very, very long time for people out there may not have enough to eat this week.
Immediate issues, livelihood issues, life-saving issues, emergency responses is so named rehabilitation. That's what I mean it. The first 1 year.
What it takes to revive particularly the health sector?
11.4 million were displaced. Look, 11 point, I'm not talking about few figures.
What has been the response of key actors, the rehabilitation and reconstruction tasks so far?
It is sluggish, I can say that. It remains on the paper, it is not descended down to the ground.
Not on the things that you can't, but on the things that you can do.
We'll push them, we'll knock at the doors of those NGOs time and again until they become human.
Do you believe the federal government give enough attention and resources from the available resources to this region, considering the kind of devastation that the region has incurred in the past 2 years?
I don't believe that. There are gaps.
Do you think it is underreported, undercovered by powerful news organizations like the New York Times or Washington Post or whatever, that powerful decision makers rely on for their information?
It's not the information that matters. It's not the data that matters. The interest matters.
Welcome back, viewers. Owner and teacher of Qudus Dawit Harp Training Institution, Dekan Ayano Abata, said that Harp, locally called Bagana, has a unique behavior in terms of explaining demons and bad spirits and bringing meditation during prayer. Ababa Burhani tells us more.
As to the doctrine of the Ethiopian Orthodox Tewahedo Church, this season is the greatest and sacred season. This is because it is the time at which followers of the religion are always on fasting, commemorating the incarnation, fasting, crucifixion, days, and as well resurrection of their God, Jesus Christ. While fasting, Christians are expected to be in a spirit and as well a state of calm. That's why they mostly listen to religious melodies which are accompanied by harp, which we call locally bagana. In accordance with the religious chronicles, harp, locally called bagana, began to emerge for the first time in Ethiopia before 3,000 years during the period of Emperor Menelik I. The chronicles state that, including harp or bagana and the Ark of the Covenant called Tabut Zion, most of spiritual chanting instruments and ritual ceremonies of Ethiopian Orthodox Tewahedo Church entered Ethiopia during the reign of King Solomon of Israel. This makes our country Ethiopia to be the second country in the world to use harp widely next to Israel. Harp is widely used during fasting season, especially in the greatest fasting of Jesus Christ called Abiy Tzom, stating that harp or bagana has a strong attachment with fasting season. Owner and teacher of Qudus Dawit Harp Training Institution, Diakon Aynayehu Abate, explained that harp is usually played for the sake of bringing meditation during prayer. Since harp or bagana is endowed with a Holy Spirit, harp has a power to connect people with the God. Fasting usually needs people to be in a spirit and state of calmness, so that harp has a strong power to bring that calmness. That's why harp is usually used in a fasting season. Harp or bagana has a strong power in order just to bring about meditation, and as well it has a big attachment with fasting.
በገና ደግሞ ራሱ ድምጹ ለተመስጦ የሚሆንና ቅኝቱና ድምጹ ዝቅ ያለ በመሆኑ
As harp or bagana in its nature has lower tune and sound, it has a capacity to create a state of calmness and to make people think the heavenly world and connect them with their God. As it is known, during fasting, hot spiritual melodies are not allowed. So, harp or bagana is the only instrument that best fits the requirements of fasting.
በገናን በዚህ ወቅት ብዙ ምእመናን አብዝተው የሚያዳምጡበትና በገናን ደግሞ መደርደር የሚችሉ የሚደረድሩበት ወቅት ነው።
As to the explanation of Diakon Aynayehu, compared to other spiritual chanting instruments of the church, harp is very unique instrument in many aspects.
በገና ከሌሎች መሳሪያዎች ለየት የሚያደርገው ወይም ልዩ የሚያደርገው ነገር ቢኖር እንዲሁ ቃውን ስናየው 10 ጅማት አሉት፣ 10 ገመዶች አሉት።
The first thing that makes harp unique from other instruments is its design and structure. It is possible to say that harp is the only lyrical instrument having 10 strings or chords and 10 tuning forks. Each string or chord has its own meaning and representation. If you see other instruments, including guitar and crowd, they have only 5 to 7 strings and tuning forks. So this makes harp unique.
10 እንጨቶች በየመቃኛው ላይ ያሉት፣ ስለዚህ በእቃው እንኳን ስናየው ይሄ ለየት ያደርገዋል።
Diakon Aynayehu also stated that harp has a unique behavior to expel demons and bad spirits from people.
ሁለተኛው ደግሞ ለየት የሚያደርገው ነገር ቢኖር በገና መንፈሳዊ ዕቃ ነው፣ ዓለማዊ ዕቃም አይደለም።
The second unique behavior of harp or bagana is its curing power. As it is stated in the Holy Bible, in the first book of Samuel, chapter 16, verse 14, it tells us the fact that Saint David the king used to play harp and expel demons and bad spirits from King Saul. This means that harp has a unique feature to cure patients with bad spirits.
እርኩስ መንፈስን የሚያርቃል ማለት እና ጸጋ መንፈስ ቅዱስ ያለው ነው። ከሌሎች መሳሪያ ለየት የሚያደርገው ነገር
በገና ማለት ፈውስ ማለት ነው። በገና ስንደረድር ሰይጣናት አጋንንታን ከኛ ይርቃሉ።
Harp has a strong power to cure patients with bad spirit. It has a unique characteristics than other instruments in terms of expelling demons from people. Harp in its nature can never be used for the purpose of secular music. It's only used for spiritual melody. It usually requires lower tune and sound. If you take krar and masenko as an example, they are not as powerful as harp or bagana in terms of bringing meditation.
በተፈጥሮ በዝምታ በተመስጦ ባርመሞ የሚዘመርበት የመሳሪያ አይነት ነው።
Diakon Hainayu added that, unlike other instruments, harp in its nature is not convenient to be used for the purpose of secular music.
በገና ለሌሎች ለዓለማውያን ነገሮች ለዘፈኖች ለሙዚቃ የሚመች መሳሪያ አይደለም።
The other unique behavior of bagana or harp is its inconvenience for secular music. It is only suitable for spiritual melodies having lower tuning sound. For example, you can take masenko and krar. You can use them for secular musics. However, harp by its nature never allow you to do that. We can only use it being in a state of calmness.
የሚገራበት ራሱን የቻለ ዜማ ቅላጼ አደራደር ውበት ዘይቤ ያለው ነው።
Head of Amhara Culture and Tourism Bureau, Mr. Tahir Mohammed, had participated in the ITB Berlin, Germany. The world's largest tourism trade fair, ITB Berlin, is a tourism trade fair that has established itself as a guidance system of a global travel industry. According to Mr. Tahir, the ITB Berlin 2023 tourism trade fair held last week in Berlin, Germany, was a great platform to promote tourist heritage of Amhara region. Mr. Tahir announced that an agreement has been made with UNESCO World Heritage Sites Association to help promote the heritage of the Amhara region. He also said that an agreement has been reached to provide capacity building trainings related to tourism development activities, especially destination development and promotion, as well as improving the delivery of tourism services. You're watching Amhara Media Corporation English Service, and now let's post you to News Beyond Borders. Malawi President launched the International Appeal for Help. The President of Malawi, Lazarus Chakwera, has launched an international appeal for help in the aftermath of devastation caused by Cyclone Freddy. The storm killed at least 225 people. The President said Malawi is in a state of disaster. What Cyclone Freddy has done is to pull us back even when we were trying to rebuild because of past tragedies. And he appealed to the international community to look at his country with such favor. The President said that they need help in terms of people that have been rescued who have lost shelter, clothing, and food. It was the second time in less than 3 weeks that the country was battered by Cyclone Freddy that also affected neighboring Mozambique. Award-winning South African jazz singer Gloria Bosman died. Smooth-voiced South African jazz musician Gloria Bosman has been lauded for her contribution to the country's music industry in a career spanning more than 2 decades. The Soweto-born Bosman was praised for her soothing, silky vocals and versatility in crossing over to various music genres. South Africa's ruling African National Congress Party paid tribute to Bosman, saying the country's music industry will be poorer without her. The ANC said in a statement, Gloria Bosman belongs to a generation of female musical greats who refuse to submit to patriarchal stereotypes in a male-dominated industry. She was a fiery and militant revolutionary in the creative sector. The award-winning musician's first album, Tranquility, was released in 1999 to critical acclaim, winning her the Best Newcomer Award at the South African Music Awards. In December last year, she was appointed to the board of the South African Music Rights Organization. Gloria had devoted her life not just to her family but to the music. She was loved and adored by many in South Africa and beyond its borders. Bosman died on Tuesday following an acute illness. That's all the news we have for today. I'm Gaila Damu. Thanks for watching and stay tuned with the rest of our programs.